When I was around 20, after dropping out of school and losing a part-time job I had to look for work, anything. I went downtown to apply at different offices, but it felt like I was getting nowhere. After trying several places, I headed home by the public bus. On my way, I noticed a sign in front of a theater that looked abandoned. I recognized the place by name. My parents had mentioned it before. They were hiring a night watchman to be on site 4 days a week. I called immediately and did everything I could to get the job. By the end of the weekend, I wouldn't have had food, and I wouldn't have been able to pay my debts. The building used to be a cinema from around the 1960s, one of those huge old theaters that felt more like stages. An accidental fire years ago killed several people, which forced a full renovation. Not long after, they turned it into a ballroom. There was even a love triangle involving a beautiful girl and two dangerous men who fought over her. That ended with a massive brawl in the building, and again, there were multiple deaths. The ballroom was shut down afterward. For a while, it was used for private events, but then it stopped being useful altogether. They more or less left it to rot. It looked like ruins, but for some reason, the owner kept paying to have it guarded day and night, 7 days a week. All of that was explained to me before my first night on the job. That first night, the first day I worked there, I almost didn't make it. As soon as it got dark and the street started to empty, I realized the electricity wasn't working in the building. Not long after, I started hearing footsteps moving through the huge hall, like someone was walking across the center of the place. When I finally got the courage to shout and ask, "Who's there?" the footsteps stopped. Then, seconds later, they started walking again. It's important to mention, something paranormal had happened to me before at home. I once saw my dead grandmother in her room on the exact day she passed away. But that time, when I ran through the doorway and shouted from shock, her image didn't seem to notice me at all, like she wasn't aware I was there. This time was worse. Whatever was in that theater with me could hear me. It knew I was there. Days passed. Even though I was dying of fear every night, I had to stay. Each morning I went out sleep deprived, searching for any job I could find, anything so I wouldn't have to keep working there. It had been about a week when, besides the footsteps, I began hearing things moved around. Like old furniture covered with white sheets being pushed, filling the space with a dull shifting sound. I got desperate and yelled, "Do whatever you want. I'm not afraid of you." There was a particularly long silence. The night was so dark I could barely see, and my heavy lamp seemed like it was losing battery power. When I started to turn around and leave the hall, I heard a breath behind me, coming closer. It wasn't a normal breath. It was a long exhale, like someone was pulling air out very slowly just to stretch it. Before I could do anything, I froze completely until the sound was unbearably close. Then I felt that breath against the back of my neck. I shut my eyes and ran, without even thinking about what was behind me. The rest of the night, I stayed near the old ticket booths of the abandoned cinema, separated from the hall by old metal bars along the street. I was freezing because my jacket was still inside, but I didn't go back in until after around 6 o'clock in the morning, when there was enough light. I did everything I could to gather my courage and return that same night. I don't know how it went for the others, but I could not get used to it. That night was quieter. I heard some sound inside, but when I checked, there was nothing. They told me they'd changed the batteries in my lamp, but I could see it was still just as weak as always. Sometimes I heard voices farther down the street, and that gave me a bit of comfort. I hated it when it felt like everyone on the street disappeared and I was the only one trapped in that place. I fell asleep for a moment a little after 1. I woke up immediately, alarmed, because I dreamed that someone had entered the building. My first instinct was to stand up and do a full sweep of the theater. I rubbed my eyes and went in. There was something on the wall in the entryway. The moment I stepped inside, I saw it. at first only as an eye, and my vision was still blurry from sleep. I tried to fully wake myself, sharpen my sight, and as I moved closer, I aimed the lamp toward it. When I could finally make out what it was, I realized it was a man, completely burned, his face ruined and disfigured. Yet his eyes were open. They looked like they were filled with anger, staring straight at me. I must have fainted, because when I woke up, it was the morning guard coming to check on me. He was alarmed, not because I was sleeping on a couch or something, but because I was lying in the middle of the hallway, and my lamp was already dead. He said, "I thought you had died, Luis. I'm glad you're okay." And I guess that was it, right? That last part? Yes, I answered. I think he might have known something about what was happening, but we didn't talk about it. I didn't have the strength to go back. I even stopped showing up to claim the days I'd worked that pay period. It took too much fighting to survive there. I decided I would do it somewhere else.